Hi. Why do Chinese people drink hot water? Nice question. Just picture the scene. You walk into any office, school, or home in China, and someone just hands you a glass of water, and the water is hot. Not room temperature, not cold, just steaming hot. If you catch a cold in China, your friends will say, just drink hot water. Stomachache, hot water. Period cramps, hot water. And even you're just feeling down, guess what? Hot water still. So to a lot of foreigners, I can understand like this makes absolutely no sense. Why would anyone drink just plain hot water with no flavor? But here's the thing. Drinking hot water might just be the most underestimated key to understanding the modern China. Today I want to take you through the full story of how the Chinese came to drink hot water from a luxury item 4,000 years ago to a national health strategy in the 1950s and to the cultural habit it is today. The history of the Chinese drinking hot water does go way back. Archaeological evidence shows that as early as 20,000 years ago, people were already heating water in containers over fire. Neolithic pottery vessels like the red pottery grave from the Longshan culture and the white pottery grave from the 大汶口 culture, with their hollow bodies, standard necks, and long spouts were very likely used for boiling water and warming wine. Now, here's an interesting point raised by Chen Mingyuan, a scholar of cross-cultural exchange. Using pottery to heat water was a uniquely Chinese innovation. Every major civilization actually used pottery, but the pottery of ancient Egypt and ancient Greece were basically just containers, no evidence of vessels used for boiling water. In other words, from the very origins of civilization, drinking hot water had a certain Chinese specificity. In terms of written records, the Yellow Emperor's inner canon from the 5th century BC says when illness comes treated with decoctions. The message also says in winter one drinks warm water, and the word used there for warm water is tang, which meant hot water. The 说文解字 from the Eastern Han Dynasty defines it directly. Tang means hot water. But here's a really important distinction. Having records of drinking hot water is not the same as everyone drinking hot water. In ancient China, drinking hot water was always a privilege of the upper class, and the reason is simple. Fuel was too expensive, and the ordinary people had to ration their firewood just to cook meals. There was no extra fuel to boil water just for drinking. Tea houses and stores popped up everywhere during the Song and Yuan dynasties, but ordinary folks drank well water and river water year round. So the Asians didn't dislike hot water, they were just too poor to afford it. What really started moving drinking hot water from the elite to the masses were two things: the arrival of bacteriology and the scourge of cholera. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Western bacteriology came to China, and for the first time, people understood scientifically there were invisible things in water that could kill you. Around the same time, China was hit by frequent cholera outbreaks. Here's a very specific historical case. In the year of 1902, a severe cholera outbreak hit Tianjin. A Japanese doctor conducting bacteriological research in Tianjin found that the main cause of the cholera epidemic was the water of the Hai River. The Tianjin Health Authority immediately issued a regulation. All drinking water and tea must be made with boiled water. They also read that vendors selling cold food or soda must boil their production water for at least 20 minutes, and violators faced a 500 yuan fine and 6 months of hard labor. The year in Tianjin alone, cholera claimed 620 lives in just 1 month. By the Republic of China era, public health authorities would issue epidemic prevention regulations every spring and summer, and a huge number of provisions were about water. The New Life movement, launched by the nationalist government in the year of 1934, also promoted drinking boiled water. But the problem was war and poverty made these initiatives impossible to truly implement. For most Chinese people, drinking hot water was still a luxury. However, the cognitive divide between East and West had already begun to take shape. In 1883, Yuan Zuzhi, the grandson of the great Qing dynasty poet Yuan Mei, traveled through Europe for 10 months and wrote an account of his observation. He wrote, "The Chinese abstain from cold water to prevent stomach illness, and the Westerners insist on cold water to dispel heat." Two completely different views of body already clearly visible by the end of the 19th century. And the Chinese didn't start drinking hot water as a nation thousands of years ago. It happened just 70 years ago, in the year of 1952, when a specific historical event completely changed the drinking habits of the Chinese people. During the Korean War, Chinese forces discovered that the US military had dropped unidentified objects in North Korea and northeast part of China, which turned out to be flies, fleas, dead rats, and other items carrying a dozen types of deadly bacteria. On March 1st, 1952, the Chinese Volunteer Army established a General Epidemic Prevention Committee. Soon after, the entire country launched a massive Patriotic Health Campaign. And one of the core slogans of this campaign was "Drink boiled water, don't drink raw water." Why boiled water? Because boiling kills the vast majority of bacteria and other conditions at that time. This was the cheapest and most effective way to disinfect drinking water. And the Patriotic Health Campaign Committee repeatedly called on educating the masses about the benefits of drinking boiled water and leading them to develop this good habit. Official textbooks like the Rural Health Clinic textbook require that health workers should actively promote the benefits of drinking boiled water and help the masses develop this habit. More importantly, the state addressed the can't afford hot water problem from the infrastructure level. Factories, government offices, and schools across the country just built boiler rooms. Thermoses and insulated flasks began to enter ordinary households. Only when the mindset and the material conditions came together did the habit of drinking hot water truly take root. So, drinking hot water is not an Asian tradition. It is a product of the public health strategy of the early People's Republic, a successful state-led behavioral health transformation campaign. So, if we see it from a public policy perspective, this was a textbook case of grassroots social mobilization using the lowest cost and the widest reach to change the daily habits of hundreds of millions of people in a short period of time. At this point, you might ask, what about the West? Why don't they drink hot water? The answer is they took a different path, but the goal was the same, just clean water. Medieval Europe had the same problem, just polluted water sources, cholera, and other infectious diseases running rampant. But during the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, Britain chose to fix the problem at the source, building a comprehensive filtration and sterilization system and made tap water drinkable. China didn't take the path because China didn't have the industrial base at the time. Boiling water was the simplest and cheapest solution. So two different choices, but one same goal, drinking clean water. On top of that, traditional Chinese medicine provided cultural backing for drinking hot water. It emphasizes the balance of yin and yang, believing that the stomach and intestine prefer warmth and dislike cold, and that raw water is cold in nature while boiled water is warm and neutral. This idea runs deep into cultural cognition of Chinese people. So today's habit of drinking hot water is a result of three layers. First is civilizational layer. That means thousands of years of cultural coding that hot water equals to good. The second one is scientific layer. That is the post bacteriology understanding that boiling equals to disinfection. And the third one is state layer, the mandatory promotion of the 1952 Patriotic Health Campaign. Finally, let's quickly answer the question everyone just cares about most. Is drinking hot water actually good for you? Scientific research shows that cold water and hot water don't actually have that big of an effect on the body. The body's thermoregulation mechanism adjusts whatever you drink to roughly body temperature. One experiment showed that even if you drink scalding water or eat a ton of ice cream, the temperature just changing inside your stomach doesn't exceed zero point 0.3 Celsius degree. But drinking hot water can help in certain situations. Relieving menstrual cramps, hot water has a validating effect and soothing cold and cough symptoms and promoting blood circulation and metabolism. However, here's a warning. The World Health Organization classifies water above 65 Celsius degrees as approved to a carcinogen. Long-term consumption can damage esophageal lining and increase the risk of esophageal cancer. The ideal drinking temperature is 10 to 40 Celsius degrees. So drink more hot water. That doesn't mean the hotter the better. Boil it, let it cool, drink it warm. That's the right way to do it. So the next time you see someone holding a thermos and drinking hot water, you're not just looking at a daily habit. You actually are looking at a luxury of the upper class from 1,000 years ago, a public health awakening driven by bacteriology and cholera in the late 19th century, the legacy of a national public health campaign in 1952, and the wisdom of a developing country using the lowest cost solution to ensure safe drinking water for hundreds of millions of people. So one cup of hot water and it tells the story of nation's modernization.